In 2001, the story appeared in New York newspapers and on television of a Bengal tiger named Ming that was discovered in a New York City apartment. So this tiger had been purchased by its owner, Mr. Yates was his name, when the tiger was only 8 weeks old. So he had this tiger from the time it was a cub, and he held it in his arms, and he used to feed the tiger with a baby bottle. But as you can imagine, cute little baby tigers, and they are so cute, they don't stay small for long. Ming eventually grew to over 425 pounds. A fully grown Bengal tiger needs about 80 pounds of meat every single day. And as you can imagine, that became a little bit of a problem. And I don't know the full story. I think there probably came a time where maybe Mr. Yates just didn't, maybe he was waiting to get paid and didn't have 80 pounds of food in the house. And I guess Alpo, a couple of cans of Alpo were not sufficient for Ming, the Bengal tiger. And let me just say that it did not end well for Mr. Yates. Eventually, people caught on to the fact that you had a tiger living next door. They called the police. And so the photo that you're looking at is actually of a New York City police officer who lowered himself outside of the apartment building, was actually in the projects in New York City in Harlem, and is confronting Ming the tiger. As I understand the story, that it ends well. Ming was not killed, relocated, and lived out a happy life. I don't think it ended so well for Mr. Yates, however. So what is the point? You have joined Bible Wise Money, and my name is Carlos, and we are talking about debt. This is episode 2 of 3, where we are discussing debt and the nature of debt. And right about now, you're saying, what in the world does a 400-pound Bengal tiger have to do with debt? And I say absolutely everything. Now, let me say this. I have every confidence that there are people who know how to domesticate certain wild animals, whether that's a tiger or a lion or something else. So as a matter of fact, I think this particular guy had an alligator in his apartment as well. So I do believe that it's possible to, in some way, train or domesticate wild animals. I don't think most people can do it. I wouldn't be the one to try to find out whether or not I have the skill to do it. And I certainly understand that in certain cases, probably the process of domesticating or training a wild animal is probably cruel. I'm thinking, I've gone to the circus, I've enjoyed the animals like anyone else, but to get some of these animals to do the things they do, it's probably not a nice experience for them. So I say all that to say this. I think handling debt is very much like having a wild animal in your apartment. Tiger, lion, alligator. It's probably possible to do it. And it's possible to pull it off, but I think most people could not do it successfully. And I think the risks are probably not worth doing. So I have every confidence that someone who's watching this channel right now and say, Carlos, I could not disagree with you more. I believe debt is the way to go. There's this motto that some people hold, other people's money, OPM. So don't do anything with your own money. Do everything with OPM, other people's money. If you want to buy a house, you get other people's money. If you start a business, you gather investors. You use other people's money. Talking about investing. I'm saying it's probably not worth it for most of us to try. But I say that also respectfully, saying it's possible that some folks have probably managed to do it well. I've heard stories of people who on, let's say with a $5,000 credit card, started $1 million business. I've heard that, and I believe it's true. So I'm not saying that no one can handle debt, but I am saying that it's not an automatic, and I think for most people, it's much more difficult than you would imagine. Remember, one of the principles of this channel is that personal finance is not about mathematics. It's 80% behavior. So if I don't handle $1,000 on my own very well and I get into trouble with it, Guess what I'm going to do with a $5,000 credit card? The same bad habits. So the flagship scripture for these episodes that I'm talking about comes out of the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 22, verse number 7, which says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." And that is absolutely true. So we want to be very careful with debt, avoid it at all costs. If we are going to use it, we need to do it with an understanding and with a strategic approach. We can say, okay, I'm doing this for this particular purpose. Maybe you're saying, I'm going to do it because I need to buy a house, and the house is what I'm going to live in, or it's going to be a 2-family house. It's going to generate income, and the income will then serve me well in retirement. It's going to be part of my retirement portfolio. That's what I'm doing. The house that I own is a 2-family house, and one of the reasons that I purchased the house, and one of the reasons that I will not sell the house, is the fact that it's going to provide additional retirement income. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about some of the debt traps. So not only are these credit card companies and banks and finance companies desiring to get you into debt, once they get you into debt, their desire and their business model is to keep you in debt, especially if you're making payments. There's nothing they enjoy more than people who make their payments, even people who fall behind on payments. There's an entire industry that's built around not only debt, but there's an industry that's built around what happens for people who don't handle debt well. I find that so strange. And I suspect there are people in other countries that look at the US and say, you people are just so strange. You create industries on one hand, and then we create another industry that comes right alongside and said, okay, this is debt relief industry, and this is debt help, and here's a bankruptcy industry, and here's bankruptcy attorneys, and now all the people who don't do this very well, we're going to create another industry to come alongside you. And we do that in food, right? On the one hand, we create industries about bad eating habits and bad food, and then we come along and create another industry which is like healthy eating and diets and exercise equipments. So in a sense, as a nation, we're burning our candles at both ends, not only financially, but on something as simple as food and healthy habits and unhealthy habits. And we do that as well on things like debt. And so some of the behaviors that I want you to be aware of are as follows. And I really want you to see these because I guarantee you 90% of you who are tuning in have had this happen to you, or you have actually seen these tactics that are employed by these companies. So one is, if you have a credit card, and again, they want to keep you in debt, they will send you a letter eventually, especially if you're paying your card every single month, and they'll say, you are a valued customer. And because you're so valued, we are going to increase your credit line. And what do? We say, oh, thank God. I needed more debt. No. That should be the worst thing that happens. So now instead of $1,000, you have $2,000 in debt. Or instead of 5, you have 10. So you're getting deeper into debt. Another tactic they do very often, especially for those who make their payments, is they'll send you a letter that says, you are such a good customer, you can take a month off. You do not have to make your next month's credit card payment. It's a trap. You know why it's a trap? When you read the fine print of the letter or the offer, it says the interest continues to accrue. So you still owe more interest. What they're in essence doing, what's happening behind the scenes, the machines and the algorithms and the people are saying, oh my goodness, this person is paying off their debt so quickly and so well that if we're not careful, they're actually going to be out of debt within a short period of time. And we can't have that. Why? Because we need their interest payments. So we will soup them up and say, congratulations, you're a valued customer, take a month off. Because they know when you take that month off, the credit, the interest will continue to accrue. That's a trap. Don't fall for the trap. Here's another trap for you. They'll say things like, for every dollar that you spend, you earn points, or you earn cash back, 1% cash back. So for every dollar you spend, you might be paying 6% interest if you're lucky. That's a really good card. Most of them start at like 16, 17%. And if you miss a payment, what do? They go way up to like 25%. So they couldn't care less about giving you 1% back because you're still giving them 14% or 20% or 29.99%. Think of it that way. You give them $29 in interest, they give you $1 back for every dollar you charge. Come on, that's a trap. Don't fall into the trap. Here's another one for you. You'll go to places and they'll say, I notice this a lot with especially the furniture store. Seems like every furniture store has the same techniques. And they will say, come in, pick up the furniture you want, no payments. And then they'll give you a date like no payments for 3 years or no payments until 2020. It's ridiculous. They say like no payments for like 4 years. And so it's an enticement for you to go in. It's a form of consumerism. And you sign off and you get this lovely new set of furniture and you don't have to make payments for a couple of years. And they know full well that in many cases that you will be late starting those payments. And what they usually say in the terms is the interest, there's no interest for that initial period, the trial period. But once it's time, at a certain point, you have to start making the payments. And if you miss those payments, or even 1 month late, all the other interest that they forgave kicks in. And I know that personally because it happened to me. Went to furniture store. I think I had 2 years for free. Waited, as I think a lot of people do, to the very end to start making payments. Waited to the very last day. I think it was like towards the end of the day, gave them my electronic payment information over the phone towards the end of the day. And guess when they processed the payment? The next day. And guess what kicked in? $1,600 in deferred interest. And I had to pay it. Now, you can say, Carlos, that was your fault. You shouldn't have waited till the last day. You're right, I shouldn't have. And I learned my lesson from that. But I'm not the only one who does that. A lot of folks do that. And so it's a trap. Don't fall for the debt trap. Please don't fall for it. Here's another one for you. There's all sorts of options. You'll hear them on radio, TV, newsprint, where they'll say, we will refinance your debt. We're going to help you. We're going to come alongside you, help you with your debt problem. We're going to refinance your debt. And this is what they say. We are going to lower your monthly payment. And what they don't tell you is usually the way they do that is they extend your terms out longer. So let's say if you're saying, okay, I'm on pace, I can get out of debt if I keep making these payments for the next 3 years, I'll finally be out of debt. They'll come along and they'll say, we'll save you $300 a month. They'll restructure everything. Now all of a sudden you're still in debt for the next 5 years. So now instead of 3 years of payments, especially interest payments, now you're making interest payments for the next 5 years. And even though they're saying, well, you'll lower your monthly payment, again, what's the problem with that? The problem is you and I, if we have bad financial habits, whatever it is we save, we're going to find a way to spend it. I'm still waiting to meet the person who does a refinance or debt consolidation, and then with the extra money, they turn around and they either invest it or they usually turn right around and they're saying, good, I needed that $300 because now I can get new furniture, or now I can get a new car, or whatever it might be. Now I can get myself into deeper debt. So here's a statistic for you that I was shocked to see. 80% of people who go in for a debt refinance, within 3 years, they're in worse financial shape. You know why? Because they have never addressed the underlying bad financial habits. So if you're the type of person where you want to go out shopping when you just feel bad, you didn't address that. If you're a person who, when you're depressed, you need to spend, you want to shop till you drop, you never address that. So the very fact that you've refinanced your debt and now your debts have been stretched out over many more years still has not addressed the underlying financial issues that exist in your life and my life. And I'm saying these things not as an accusation because I've lived all this stuff. I've made every mistake that there is to make. I'm telling you all these things not because I read them in the book. I tell you all these things because I made all these mistakes. I've made just about every debt mistake that can be made. And I wish I could say I would never make any more, but I can't say that. 11 credit cards at one point. I think I have one store card now. That's it. It's a Home Depot card and that's it. And I only got that 7 months ago when I had to redo the apartment that I rent out. And I managed it very well. I think I've got like 20% of it outstanding. So it's not, and it's a Home Depot card. It's not like I'm going to go out to dinner and use the Home Depot card. I don't think I could. I'm sure I couldn't. So it's not like it's something that I'm going to abuse. That's it for this episode. Episode 3 is coming up, and then we're going to move on to some other things. We've got one more to go on debt, and then we're going to move on to some other things. God bless you. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Also consider subscribing and leaving a comment below. It helps out this channel greatly. God bless you, and I'll see you inside the next video.